Good evening. The opinions and statements voiced by our guests do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this network. Enjoy the shows.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Welcome to the Paranormal Experience radio show with your host, Kat Hobson. We're here to learn all we can about every type of experience within the paranormal. There will be interviews with seasoned investigators of the spiritual realm, including ufologists, cryptozoologists, psychics, mediums, authors, and creators of technology, and others with credible knowledge to share. Together, we will find out what brought these investigators of the unknown into the field and learn what keeps them working so hard in it. I'm interested in learning how these individuals go about their work, and I believe you are too. This program is all about bringing those who are in the field together with our listeners who are interested in what they find. For us, the paranormal is all about working with and supporting each other. We're all here seeking answers to the questions that bother us so. Now, let's get those answers. And enjoy the show.
Good evening. Welcome to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. You are listening to Paranormal Experience with Kat Hobson, and that's me. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad to be able to welcome you. And we have got a great show lined up with someone that I think very highly of. I think you're going to love this. But first, I have to give a shout out. I won an SLS camera last year. Up until now, it has not functioned. And when I reached out to the person who had created it, I was told that they were no longer supporting that piece of equipment and directed to Facebook groups and other things of that nature. Well, a friend of mine got wind of this from another friend that I'd been talking to at an event. And before I could even get home, I had an email message that said, "Call me." And I was like, okay, that's weird. So I have to give a great big, huge, monstrous shout out to Scott Gruenwald and Jeff Conkle, because delivered to me today was my functioning, absolutely beautiful, set up on Jeff's platform, still my equipment, SLS camera that works because it matched my husband. So Jeff and Scott, I love you guys. I am so excited and so pleased to be able to use this, and you better bet that I am going to be down at Sloss with that sucker tomorrow, testing it out down in the tunnels. So thank you very much, gentlemen. I appreciate you so much, and I'm not going to name who this was, because you know what? He donated that. He did. And this was right around the time, right before I was traveling, and then I got injured, so the communication wasn't great. Probably too much time in there, but it works now. So, woohoo! I am going to Sloss to play. And I also want to let people know that our chat room monitor, Brenda, has been having a really tough time. And her mother was in intensive care Sunday. So I haven't heard of any changes. I haven't been able to get in touch with her. But if you could keep Brenda, that's all you need. God knows who she is. In your prayers and thoughts, that would be great. And her family too, because she has a very ill sister as well. And this is a family that is under attack. So please just keep them in your prayers. And that being said, you know he answers them. Because, you know what? I have Joe Hawk on my show tonight. Joe, I am so excited. I know that you have been a part of so many things. Right now you are working on the 2020 East Coast Paracon, and you've investigated forever, and mainly you're one of the nicest people I know.
Oh, well, thank you, Kat. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for being here. I appreciate you. You know, we have known each other for a couple of years now, but we have never actually gotten to just sit down and have a conversation and put out there, you know, where you've been, what you like to do as far as investigating, why you investigate. It's just really one of those things that I did research you, so I know, but most of our listeners might not. And as anyone who listens to the show knows, this is conversation, not, inquisition. So we're just going to chill out and have a good conversation.
Absolutely. And you're right. We really never had a chance to just sit down and throw the bull, have we?
Well, no. And it's because when we're in Gettysburg, we're both busy doing all the things, and it's just one of those things that we need to take time. Things
Absolutely.
are not that pressing. But, well, tell me, because are you actually from Pennsylvania?
I am from Pennsylvania, yes.
Born and raised?
Born and raised, yes. I'm from the Wilkesboro-Scranton area, a little town called Pittston Township. It's literally halfway between Wilkesboro and Scranton, if anybody's familiar with with that area. Luzerne County, and probably most noted for the Poconos, which I'm about 45 minutes away from the Poconos.
Ooh. Do you ski?
I do not, no.
I do not either. I was actually asked to get off the slopes, on the bunny slopes.
Yeah, no,
Really?
I've never had the ambition to do that. Never. I've taken my life in my own hands a few times due to my job, but never recreational.
Well, I understand that. I know that I didn't think it would be hard. I have always been able to do anything physically that I wanted to, except for water skiing and snow skiing. And I was actually mortified because the only reason I wanted to snow ski was to show off for this really cute guy in my youth group at church who skied all the time. And no, it was tragic. But, you mentioned putting your life on the line. You had the most beautiful canine partner in those photographs. How did you become a canine cop? First of all, how did you get involved in the law enforcement field? But B, how did you move into canine?
I was one of the fortunate ones, to answer the first question. Canine is definitely probably one of the best things I've ever done. I am proud to say, though, that I'm third-generation law enforcer. My grandfather, my father, and myself. So I'm very proud to say that. It's kind of in our blood, if you will.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I've been in law enforcement since 1995. Different aspects, private, all the way up to I've had the honor of training with some of the world's best. I've trained with diplomatic security services, Secret Service. I've trained with people from Blackwater and stuff, and honestly, I've had that honor and privilege to do so, and the true warriors out there. With that being said, although I am from Pennsylvania, I moved to Maryland for about 4.5 years, And while I was down there, that's where I had the opportunity to become a canine officer. I was there roughly about a year, maybe a year and a half before I transitioned over to canine. And I actually started our canine unit up in our department. We hadn't had one since the 80s. And I was very proud to do so. The mayor and the chief gave me that opportunity. And I went and I got Ben, which is the canine you're speaking of in the photos, if anybody sees my
Absolutely
Facebook.
Beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, he was. I always tell people he was probably the most human dog I've ever known. He had such human attributes, his facial expressions, his body language. He and I clicked, and I've had some really, really good. Like I said earlier, I had some really, really good partners. I've trained some phenomenal individuals, but he definitely was probably my closest partner. There's just a bond between an officer and a canine that unless you're in that field and specifically have dealt with it, it's hard to express. But, just as much as anybody that's ever had a dog as a family member, think of that just kind of magnified. Because, I've grown up with dogs. I've grown up with shepherds and stuff. And it was just a unique situation. And I truly do miss him. He has since passed, but
right.
I do miss him. One of my best partners.
Well, how did he become a canine officer?
Ben actually, he had a passport and everything. He's actually from Czechoslovakia. He was born and bred over there. And I have to give a shout out to Tar Heel Canine is where I went to for my canine training down in North Carolina. Jerry Bradshaw actually handpicks all his canines. When I was going to become a canine officer, I did a whole bunch of research, and that's the names that kept coming up, so that's where I went. So my town sent me. Ben actually trained. What they do over in Czechoslovakia is they actually train the animals basically from birth, from the time their eyes open. They'll go through and they'll run a string through the litter, and whatever puppies follow the string, they're the ones that are chosen for for canine work, and they just kind of build upon that. So Ben's been basically training since he was born, and he trained at Tar Heel Canine back over here in the States for about 3 months prior to me meeting him. We went through a rigorous training. Ben was tri-trained. In other words, he was trained in apprehension, man tracking, and narcotics, along with handler protection, which is kind of added in there as far as the man tracking goes. Mm-hmm. So he definitely he made me look good. He definitely made me look good.
Well,
everybody used to ask me, "What do you do?" I'm like, "I don't do anything. I just kind of follow the leash. He does it all." He was definitely good at what he did.
Well, I think that's cool. I've only known one canine officer, and he was absolutely beautiful. He was the Orange Beach canine for a very long time, and he not too long ago passed, but as we were going to the dog park all the time, I had a pack of 4 at the time, and my baby was a lab that the handler said, you need to train this dog because she searches, like she looks up to search. She doesn't just ground search. She looks everywhere. And right. I said, well, but you know what? She's happy. And she probably would have been great at that, but his was magnificent, and he was just beautiful. I'm partial to canine officers, both the 4-leggeds and the 2-leggeds. So that's something that fascinates me, because it is a partnership every bit as much as somebody that is 2-legged riding with you.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And the thing is, they're sometimes a little more vigilant than even myself. Ben would notice or take note, or he'd kind of tip me off, if you will, certain things that would go on that I wasn't necessarily even, privy to or didn't notice, essentially, just because they're always searching, they're always looking. It's more of a game to them, and they get rewarded for their game, so they're always on top of it. Very vigilant.
Well, so how long were y'all together?
Ben and I were together in the field 2 years, and a short 2 years only because he actually got hurt in the line of duty. Ben did twice. So unfortunately, he retired from police work actually before I did. So.
Well, I'm glad that he was able to retire, because I have a woman friend who is my age. We played foosball together, believe it or not, and she is a retired Birmingham City police officer, and I never understood, because that takes so much bravery just to get out there and do that job. And I don't know if you've ever watched the first 24 or 48 or whatever the show is, but Birmingham is featured on there a lot. I think it's the first 48. But she's one of those people that would ride a bike through the north side of Birmingham, and she had a Minnie Mouse voice. And I can say that because she knows it. But, and we're friends. But I never understood how she got people to stop, right? Yeah, I go back to one of the Jeff Dunham jokes with the ching ching, get into the basket, but she was fierce. She is fierce. And she is 110% police officer. And I think that's really a neat thing. Like I said, people that get up and go do that every day are brave people, and they do not deserve the crap that they get a lot of times. That's just my personal soapbox. So
yeah, I tend to agree with you there. I'll tell you what. First of all, thank you. Secondly, the world I grew up in, or the respect that I have for police officers. Anybody that turns the TV on or looks at social media, you can see how the degradation of that has happened over the past several years is just, unfortunately borderline disgusting. And I understand there's always good and bad in every profession and every person and so on and so forth. But you're right. It's just I believe that until someone's gone out and risked their lives for those that they don't even know, life has a taste that and a flavor that the protected will never understand. And the sad part is that they just don't. The respect is gone, and it's sad to see that, especially coming from the line that I do.
Yes. Well, what was your grandfather and your dad's take on that? Were they here to see the disintegration?
Yeah, unfortunately, my grandfather. I did not have the pleasure of knowing my grandfather, other than through my dad. He had passed before I was born. My father passed, it'll be 6 years ago, this upcoming April. So he's seen some of it. But not obviously, in the past 6 years where it's really kind of, it's been going down. It's been going down, but it's been getting worse within the past, probably I'd say a good, maybe 5 to 6 years. It's been kind of going downhill rapidly.
Yes.
So, different policing from when especially from when my grandfather, was a police officer, to my dad, to myself. People talk about the thin blue line all the time, and what a brotherhood and sisterhood it is, and it is. It certainly is. But it's like anything else. Your armor can only take so many hits before it becomes dented, fractured, and worn. And we can only do so much, because if we don't have the support of the people as law enforcement, that's when things start to go awry. Things start to go really bad. As much as the people hate us, I hate to say it, they need us. And a good friend of mine, he's a retired Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman, motivational speaker. The man's awesome. But he says it the best. Police officers are like you have the wolf, right, which is the predator, and you have the sheep, which are just the normal people kind of going about their everyday lives, and then you have the sheepdog. And the sheepdog, neither side likes it, because the sheep thinks that the sheepdog looks like the wolf, so they kind of fear him. And the wolf doesn't like the sheepdog because he knows he's just as cunning, as fierce as he is, but yet he protects the people that he preys on. So we're right in the middle there. And we always try to find that perfect balance. And
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
But we're up against a break. I can't believe we're up against a break. But we will be back with Joe Hawk. And thank y'all for listening. We'll see you on the flip side of this.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
To the believer, the evidence is overwhelming. To the skeptic, there will never be enough. Hello everyone. Join Kevin and Jennifer Malik, the host of Paraversal Universe, every Friday here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting. Also heard on WCET FM and The Rift. Log on or tune in as they check out the mysteries found within the 8 categories of the unknown and unexplained, including ghosts and haunted places, aliens and UFOs, theology and mythology, cryptids and monsters, urban legends and folklore, conspiracies, metaphysics, and forbidden archaeology. Listen as Kevin and Jennifer interview the top minds in their respective fields as they share theories and information regarding these unsolved mysteries. For future show and archive information, one can find Paraversal Universe on Facebook, Twitter, and MeWe under various Paraversal Universe headings. So, for excellent talk radio about the unknown and unexplained, check out Paraversal Universe, where all paranormal perspectives apply. Brought to you by the Northern Wisconsin Paranormal Society, Ltd., and produced by WBHM-DB.com.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 23 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to Paranormal Experience Radio. I am your host, Kat Hobson, here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I am joined by my friend and somebody that I admire so much, Joe Hawk. Joe has been telling us about his family history and his experiences as a police officer and about his canine work as well, which that just overwhelms me. I think that interaction, if you've ever seen it, is astounding. And the focus that those animals have on their handler and their job is just amazing. So, but welcome back.
Thank you.
How did you go, or were you always, but how did you get from police officer to paranormal investigator?
I'll be honest with you.
Which way did that go?
My fascination, for lack of better terms, with the paranormal started at a very young age. Even till today, I have stuff go on. I currently live in the home that my mom and dad built. So, yeah, it's awesome. But one night I remember sitting in, I think my mom and I were either playing cards or a board game or something. We were always doing stuff like that. And if anybody knows what a bi-level home is, like where you come in, you have a foyer, and you can go, up the stairs or down the stairs, right? So our kitchen's at the top of the stairs. Well, my mom and I are sitting there playing cards, and I was used to sit where I could see, my seat was like where I could see the front door, and, you know, my mom would like sit across the table. So I don't know if my dad was at work or what, but my mom and I are there, and we're playing and tossing the cards back and forth. And I thought I saw the corner of my eye look like someone came from what would be our back hallway where our bedrooms are, and come past the door that goes from the kitchen to the stairs. And if someone wants to do that, they would actually have to walk past that door frame. And then if they kept going, they would go into my living room, where then my mom could see, you know, who had walked by. Well, obviously I was just young, and I kind of like, I remember turning my head looking, and I looked back at my mom, and she had that oh crap look on her face, you know, like you could tell like she, you know, something kind of startled her, but she didn't want to make me look nervous, you know, didn't want to look nervous to me, of course. Right. And I'm looking at her, and she kind of looks at me, and she just like kind of pushes a little bit back on the chair. I remember her and like looking into the living room, and sure as anything, there was nothing there. So that kind of started my interest.
I could see that.
Although today, yeah, right. So, and then back in the day, my sister and my cousins would play with the Ouija board when everybody thought it was a cool thing to do, you know, when no one kind of knew better, I guess. And they would ask, you know, questions and so on and so forth. And well, things started happening in the house then also, and not knowing anything at the time, it was just kind of put out in the shed, you know, get rid of this thing, you know, it's weird, you know, because then you start hearing all the rumors, you know, and somehow it always ended up back in the downstairs closet. And no one ever brought it in. Now, I don't know if that was my sister not bringing it in or my brother, God only knows. But so that's kind of how I got started. That was my interest. So
wow.
Yeah, right? So
yes.
So years pass, and like I said, I've read up on it, I've studied on it, but never really investigated anything myself. Now, we're talking, my God, probably maybe mid-2000, like 2007-ish. I come back from Maryland. I came back because, unfortunately, my mom and dad both simultaneously got sick. So I ended up stopping my career down there and moving back home to Pennsylvania. Well, when I did so, one of my first calls back in my hometown, I got a call for a resident that called and said that their brother damaged some stuff in the house and wanted me to come up. So I'm on duty. I go up. When I go up, I get there. I meet the resident owner and stuff. And here there was a paranormal team investigating this house.
While you
and
were
the
there?
brother didn't want to. No. They left their equipment overnight because they wanted to record. So he destroyed the equipment that was left there overnight. So they called me to do a police report on it. Well, when the homeowner handed me the card, I look, and sure as anything, it's Mark Keyes. Well, anybody that's ever knows anything about Mark Keyes, if you ever heard of the Pennsylvania Paranormal Association, Mark is one of the founders, him and his wife Lauren. Well, I worked with Mark when I was in PA prior to me going to Maryland through our jobs. Mark was a state trooper, and I did some different things in PA as law enforcement. So we kind of our paths crossed. So I knew Mark, and so at that point in time, I contacted Mark, and that's when my being a police investigator went into being a paranormal investigator. Mark asked me to join the team, and I joined, I believe it was either late 06 or late 07, and I've been a member of the Pennsylvania Paranormal Association ever since.
That is just too cool. Don't you love when serendipity kind of steps in and synchronizes everything, and there you are with serendipity and synchronicity, and off on another tangent you go.
Right. The universe had its path already, had the path already worn. I just didn't walk it yet. Right.
Well, how on earth? What was your first? Okay, you're already a trained investigator, and not just an average investigator. You are a full-blown, been trained in all kind of interrogation techniques, knowing the facial cues, knowing the body cues. to be able to know if you're being handed a load of crap when you go to do your intake interview, right?
Right.
And he is too. So how do you go from that to just being the way that you're so laid back, right? And you are, or around me you are, because I don't give you a reason
Absolutely.
not to be. But how did you transition that? Or did you just take all of those investigation techniques with you, work with Mark, and develop more?
I would say yes to all that. No.
Well, this is going to be a short interview, Joe.
Yeah, right. Yeah. What happens is, again, just the way I grew up and stuff, right? So my father was, former law enforcement. My father was in the military, and the laid-back attitude I kind of got from my dad. My mom, believe it or not, was kind of more like the mouthpiece. My mom would be the one that was, she was the one. And my dad, I was like, let it go. I was kind of laid back, but you always knew that dad was not the one you wanted to tick off, right?
Right.
So I think that's kind of where I get that type of personality from.
Well, I mean,
And
I wouldn't actively try to tick you off. So I know. Yeah.
So with that being said, through just basic law enforcement patrol techniques, and then of course as you brought up, one of the other things I did in law enforcement was I was a detective for a short period of time also. So going through different classes and stuff. I did a FBI profiling class. So what happens is, you learn different, like you said, you learn different body languages, different keys, different physiological responses from the body that you look for from people and stuff. So what we did was, Mark, being a seasoned investigator, also Mark did a lot of undercover work as well in his profession, and we kind of got together and kind of fed off each other because we had worked together before in the field, and now in the paranormal field, you kind of do the same thing. You look for things that are going to, paranormal, right? Above the norm, right? So anything that's just kind of a little, bit of out of the norm, things that aren't explained, things that maybe you have to go the extra step to explain also. But being an investigator, you kind of, it's very quick. It's like anything else. Someone that's a roofer or someone that's a mechanic, they can listen to a mechanic. Let's use them for example. They can listen to a vehicle a lot of times, and they could tell you, hey, listen, cylinder 2's got this, or because they just know their profession. They're seasoned enough to know what they're doing. So the good thing is, being a law enforcer and a paranormal investigator, believe it or not, kind of do parallel. So having that experience in the field as law enforcer, taking over the paranormal was actually kind of easy. Of course we had to tweak some things, but just doing that, listening to your surroundings and so on and so forth, kind of came natural because we did it for so long. So I think that's why we kind of had an edge on, certain things that we did.
There's actually a large number of, and I would be curious to know the percentage of people who are either active or retired law enforcement who are involved in paranormal investigation. It just seems to me that whether it's a beat officer or regular patrolling, there's a lot of state troopers. There's a lot of people who have, as you have, stepped up levels in training. And why do you think that is? What was your draw?
I think it's
the history.
Yes, I think right. Of course, the history and everything aside, because I do believe that probably what all paranormal investigators are looking for is they're seeking and I raise my hands in the quotes, okay, looking for the truth or the answers, right? Well, we'll probably never truly have all of them, but I think being in law enforcement, you have that sense of wanting to help. You have that sense of wanting to find the answers. it's kind of ingrained in you, whether you be in patrol, detective division, undercover, whatever. You're always looking for the sense of righteousness, and you want to help people. So, my take is, and I've always looked at paranormal stuff like this, is that, and my father actually even told me this since I was a child. Little did I know it would actually, turn into something that I used. But Dad always said, it's not the dead that'll hurt you; it's the living that will. They have more of an opportunity living to hurt you than they do dead.
Yes, they do.
And I think that it's just, from me personally anyway, it was the wanting to help. And that's a twofold thing. I want to help the people on this plane and on this earth, reach, talk, understand what's going on in their home. Maybe it's a loved one, maybe it's someone passing through. And I also looked at it from the spiritual side, that I wanted to help the spirits that maybe had no other voice. I wanted to be their voice. I wanted to, figuratively speaking, of course, but I wanted to maybe help communicate or maybe better understand what was going on, so therefore we could have closures on both ends of that spectrum. And that was my hope, to bring East Coast Paracon into it. That was my hope and dream to do that with my Paracon, was to, our mantra, our slogan is, bring the living together to help better understand the dead. And we have a lighthouse as our symbol, and there's a reason for that, because in your darkest hour, what do you seek? You seek light. So that was our whole thing, and we wanted to bring those together on both sides, this universe and this plane and the others that may be out there, and hopefully help kind of collaborate and get everybody understanding and respecting it more rather than fearing it.
That's noble.
Well, thank you.
And I did notice the lighthouse because I am a beach girl, so I thought it was beautiful. I love your logo.
Yeah, well, thank you. That's one of the biggest things we get to is people say, like, "Oh, does it have to do with the beach? Where are you guys from?" I'm like, no. It's of course it has to do with the beach. That's what lighthouses were made for, obviously, right, for sure. But we took it from a different perspective, as like
but it's
I said,
still a beacon.
Right, exactly.
It is still a protective beacon.
Right.
And
I wanted to, right.
Because that's what y'all do. So.
Yes, I wanted to bring people in. I wanted those that are seeking answers, or at least some type of, because let's be honest, we don't have the answers. We don't know. Most of this is theoretical and speculation, I am no medium or psychic by any means, and I don't even claim to be. But I do have those gut feelings every now and then, and some things do come to me, and it's like anything else. And doing this work, you kind of it's like anything else. It becomes a job, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but it becomes a job to where you want to learn more, and the more you do it, the more you learn, and the more you become sensitive to it. And again, East Coast Paracon, ECPC, I wanted those people that couldn't go and talk to fellow family members, or couldn't go and talk to friends that thought they were, kind of tilted their head and looked at them sideways like, what are you talking about, Because I remember the first year we had it, we had a couple come to us, and they were basically excommunicated from their church because they tried to speak to somebody about it, and they just weren't accepted. They were kind of passed off as loons, if you will. And I knew right then and there that just out of that one couple that came to me, I was so happy that they came, and I hooked them up with a couple people, all because she thought she smells her mother's perfume. She's like, my mom passed, and 2 months later I started smelling her perfume, and it kept getting stronger and stronger. She didn't know what to do, and she thought she heard her talking sometimes, and this and that. And she thought, at first, she really thought she was going nuts, and her words, not mine. But she went to talk to the clergy about it in the church they were at, and they basically dismissed her, and then they kind of like shunned them from that community. So I'm glad we were able to get her help, and she had closure, and that meant the world to me. Even if it was just that one person I helped over all these years, that was a huge plus for me to hear that, for her to get back to me and say that. It meant the world. It really did.
Well, that's actually beautiful, but that's not unusual. Was she really concerned for her mental health?
She was. You know why? Her and her mom were very close. Her mom went through a battle, unfortunately, with cancer, and she went into remission. And then when she got it back, she lost her very quickly. So she thought, basically she couldn't cope is what she thought. She thought that, she had lost her mind. She thought that after she buried her mom and like she said to me, once all the family went home and once, my husband went back to work and, I was at home and I would sit there and then I would start smelling my mother's perfume and I would think that I would hear her call me at night as I was, cause her mom had stayed with them. And I had to pass the room that she stayed in and I would hear her call me at night. She goes, I thought I was losing my mind. She goes, I really did. She goes, I didn't understand what was going on. How could this be happening? I knew my mom wasn't there. She goes, and no one else heard it. She goes, one night, she goes, my husband said he thought he heard something. She goes, and I cried for like 3 hours. She said, because someone else actually heard something that I thought I was the only one doing so. And she literally thought she was going out of her mind. She thought she had a nervous breakdown because she couldn't handle the death of her mother.
That is so sad. I'm so glad you were able to help her because, the olfactory senses, that's not unusual. I was in Pensacola Lighthouse with someone that I didn't know personally who had died there and was smelling, I thought it was fresh cut flowers. There were none there. It was a perfume that the former, obviously former lighthouse keeper's wife would make her own perfume. And that's what I was smelling because there were no flowers. So I hate that she took it so negatively for herself, but I'm glad you were able to help her.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can't take that credit. I was just in a good position to hook her up with people that could help her.
Well,
and that was my
Go ahead. That
was my goal. With the East Coast Paracon was to get people together and to, be able to make a network and a tight knit network and a community that would do that. And I was able to do so. I can't take the credit for it, but I definitely got her into, in touch with a couple of people that did help her. And just to add on to what you were saying, it is sad that she felt that way. But I think that if she was greeted at first with open arms rather than shut, I think that she maybe would have been able to accept a little more. But when she kept getting turned away, because she went to some family members also too that kind of poo-pooed her and told her, listen, I think you need to talk to somebody. I think you're going nuts, which one of her I believe it was her cousin. I'd be lying to tell you if it's true or not, but I think it was her cousin or whatever had said to her. And then when she turned to her church, and they kind of, listen, we don't do that here. I don't know what you're talking about. And then, she was even persistent, and then went to one of the clergy, and they kind of shunned her. And so I think it's like anything else. When things are happening to you that you don't understand, and then everybody else is ridicule may be a strong word, but when everybody else is looking down at you, because you're expressing how you're feeling or what may be happening to you, you have nowhere to turn. You kind of feel like a person without a country, and she had nowhere to turn, and she was feeling just kind of down on herself. And that's when the doubt comes in, right? So when the doubt comes in, what do we start doing? It's real easy to slide down the hill than to climb it. So
yes, it
once
is.
that slippery slope, right? So once that slippery slope started, I think that's just kind of where she started thinking ill of herself, and maybe she was going, nuts, quote unquote, as she said. So, but we found out that was not the case. So I'm very happy to be able to help her. So
absolutely. Well, believe it or not, it is break time. We will be right back,
right.
And I hope y'all enjoy this. We will see you in a few.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
To the believer, the evidence is overwhelming. To the skeptic, there will never be enough. Hello everyone. Join Kevin and Jennifer Malik, the host of Paraversal Universe, every Friday here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting, also heard on WCET FM and The Rift. Log on or tune in as they check out the mysteries found within the 8 categories of the unknown and unexplained, including ghosts and haunted places, aliens and UFOs, theology and mythology, cryptids and monsters, urban legends and folklore, conspiracies, metaphysics, and forbidden archaeology. Listen as Kevin and Jennifer interview the top minds in their respective fields as they share theories and information regarding these unsolved mysteries. For future show and archive information, one can find Paraversal Universe on Facebook, Twitter, and MeWe under various Paraversal Universe headings. So, for excellent talk radio about the unknown and unexplained, check out Paraversal Universe, where all paranormal perspectives apply. Brought to you by the Northern Wisconsin Paranormal Society, OPD, and produced by WBHM-DB.com.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 45 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to Paranormal Experienced Radio. I am Kat Hobson, your host, with my guest Joe Hawk, and we have been talking about the goals that they set when they started the East Coast Paracon, which was, it's not just para-unity, this is actually coming together to help people as clients, right? Working together to do that. And
yes,
I did look. I didn't see para-unity verbatim much of anywhere. It's just actually doing it. I think that's cool.
Yes, we didn't. I'll be honest with you. ECPC, or East Coast Paracon, started at my kitchen table. Mm-hmm. I can't take the whole founding alone. My co-founder and good friend Stanley Zurich. Stan's an author, a local historian in my area here, and we sat there and talked just like you and I are about how we believe people needed help. You know, those people that were shunned. And people that were kind of looked at sideways and so on and so forth. So over a couple cups of coffee later, this is how East Coast Paracon got born, and we've been going ever since. So
the kitchen table launches all kinds of wonderful things.
Does it not?
It solves all kinds of crises and gives rise to wonderful plans and ideas. And while you're sitting there, you can just grab a pencil and jot down the steps, and before you know it, a con is born.
That's right. I mean, when I grew up, the kitchen table was everything.
Yes.
We did our homework there, we ate there, we had discussions there, we played there. I think we even solved some world hunger and peace at a couple points.
Absolutely. But, well, all it is, the world peace thing is not rocket science. It's you talk, then you shut up, and you let somebody else talk. And then they shut up, and then you let somebody else talk. So you get different ideas, and you just choose the ones that resonate with the most people. Voila, world peace.
I'm telling you, the Native Americans, they had it right. They used to have the talking stick, right? Mm-hmm. So what they do is they would sit around, and whoever had the stick had the floor, had everyone's attention at that time, so they passed it on. So you had, it was a physical representation of who was in charge or who was in talking point at that. And then you listened to them, and when they were done, they passed on it. So therefore, everybody actually sat there, quiet, respectfully, which is the key word here, respectfully listened. And although you don't necessarily agree with someone, doesn't necessarily mean you don't respect them or you don't like them. And exactly. I think that's one of the things that, we've lost too along the way here. But it's okay to disagree. It really is. I mean, if we were all the same, then nothing would be different, right?
And it would be so boring.
Absolutely. That's why I tell everybody, listen, I try to take my dark moments with my light, because if it was always, if it wasn't dark, we'd never appreciate the light, right? And vice versa. If it was always sunny, we'd never know how to get out of the shade. So, you got to have that yin yang. You got to have that balance.
Totally balance. And it's not that hard. I don't know how we went from, everybody has a right to their opinion to, if you're not agreeing with me, I'm going to stomp my feet and pitch a fit, and I might throw a rocket in your face. I mean, the world has transitioned in such negative ways. I blame it on participation trophies personally, but, everybody has their opinions. But, you have people who have never been told, you're wrong. You didn't you didn't win. So you get to celebrate the people who did and then try harder next time. It's just, you don't have a right. It's not your right to always be celebrated like the winner when you're not. That's where motivation comes from, is going out and doing harder and better. Train harder.
Exactly. If that, I completely agree. I don't agree with participation trophies. I don't agree with that at all. Because then what makes you strive? If you could do nothing and get something, then why do anything? I mean, truly, then why sit there and do anything? I mean, you need something to strive for, to look forward to better yourself. That's what you try to do. That's how that's how I was raised. That's how I try to raise my daughter. You do things and you continue to do it till you feel as though, you do it to the best of your potential, regardless of what it is. And,
right.
Keep going.
Well, it's like when I was coaching, kids soccer, and we didn't keep score. Air quotes, right? And there may not have been a piece of paper that had the score on it, but every kid on every team knew what the score was. And if they didn't, I had a kid on my team that would yell out, "We're ahead by 7," just so everybody knew. And I had somebody come over and say, "Well, he needs to stop doing that." And I said, he's proud. He's very proud. He does not need to stop doing that. His parents are over there. You go talk to them. But I'm his coach, and I'm proud that we're ahead too. And, that wasn't the most politic of answers. But why should I make him feel second best when he's winning?
Right.
Those other kids went out and ran harder.
Right, absolutely, right, exactly. And then that's what I was going to say. And if he's losing and he runs the scores, that gives them more incentive to try harder, right?
Yes, it did.
I know.
I mean, because we were not always ahead. That's the beauty of sports. Everybody has their moment. And,
that's right.
But he was so excited. And I love that, because you don't see that in people that don't have to earn what they're getting. They just assume that they have the right to it. They take it. I am not a political person. I do not state opinions. I do not get into discussions, because there are no discussions. There's arguments. But I do feel like, one of the most epic moments that proved that point was that young woman who hit her knees in the middle of a street screaming at the sky because her team didn't win. And it was just like, but there's going to be another shot. This is what people do. There's going to be another shot. And I don't understand why the hopelessness. I understand anger because your team didn't win and you didn't get a prize, a participation trophy just because there were 2 people in the race and, the other person should have gotten something. But I just don't understand that. I wouldn't have understood it if either person won. We're supposed to be adults.
I agree. And I think the hopelessness comes from the fact of not living in the moment. Or living too much. I believe there's no balance there. I believe that the people that are hopeless, feels as though like there's no tomorrow, like today is it. And I believe that. I mean, I believe we should always, I tell people I love them today because I may not have that opportunity tomorrow. I do believe that. But I also don't stop dreaming and looking forward, because I do want to be here tomorrow. And every morning that we open our eyes, we should truly, whatever God or universe we choose to speak to. I mean, that's your choice, but thank them. Thank them for the fact that you opened your eyes and you're able to take another breath, because there's people that maybe listening to this show now, and God forbid not wake up tomorrow, and I may be one of them. We don't know that. But the fact of the matter, you have to take that life and that simplicity of it. We're so busy and we're so hectic with life, and we're so attached to our electronics and everything else, that we don't take a moment to look up and marvel at the true nature of where we're at and enjoy it. Simplicity is the clouds, the sun, the earth we're walking on. I'm very big into the naturalist of it. I like that. I try my hardest to always at least appreciate and teach my daughter to appreciate at least one thing and recognize it a day. You go outside, you see a bug, take a moment to look at that. Like I'm teaching her, she's only 4, so she's like, Daddy, what's this, what's that? And I love the questions, because this, she's like a sponge now. So, and I try to teach her, and I try to show her the appreciation for that. I don't like that. Yeah, but this is what that spider does, honey. And then I'll explain to her, And I think as adults, we just become very cynical, and we become very caught up in our world of electronics and our everyday grind of work and so on and so forth, that we forget the simple things. And I think that
I think that the comet is going to come, or the asteroid is going to come, and nobody's going to experience it in real time, because they're all going to be trying to catch it on their phones.
Right.
And, and we're all going to be wiped out in a fell swoop. And, if there are survivors somewhere in some deep, canyon or hole somewhere, then, they're going to find everybody with their cell phones up, doing a selfie with the comet behind them. So.
Well, I can assure you, if I'm one of the survivors, I'm certainly not one of the first things I'm doing is looking at someone's phone.
No. Well, I mean, their posture will still be there, right? They'll still be holding it. But it really is, you can joke about it, but it's sad that everybody has to yell, because as soon as somebody yells, then everyone else stops listening.
Right.
You have to be able to have discourse, civil discourse. And, just talk to each other. Love each other. We're supposed to be all about love. And I'm not a Pollyanna, but I do think that love your neighbor is pretty easy. If you, unless they're a neighbor that wants to stab you or something, but don't be a person that wants, that somebody wants to stab. I often am that person, so I understand. But it's just, it doesn't seem like it should be that hard, and it seems to be so incredibly hard now, for no good reason.
I agree.
And I don't even know how we got on this tangent.
I don't know. I don't know either. My apologies.
But, it's really funny, because I think it came from you just wanting to help, and it's so important, because helping is what we're supposed to do. People with gifts are supposed to use them to help people that are in distress, in my opinion. And
absolutely.
If that's what you have, and if that's what you have to take care of yourself, then I don't have a problem with someone charging for using their gifts. I get in a lot of debates about that too. But, if that's what you have to make a living, and that is your skill, then, make a living. Take care of those who can't afford to pay you, but make a living,
I agree 110%. I always tell everyone, I am very big on intent. My thing is, it's all the intention behind it, right? So if I intend to go out there and scam you on what I may not be, and I'm going to tell you all these things that you may want to hear, then I don't think that's right. But with your intent is to go and help people, and maybe that's, like you said, the only way that you could maybe, be able to get your way by in life and make a living, then you know what? As long as your intent is pure, I believe that's going to come back to you,
yes,
threefold. I truly believe that. I really do. As long as the pure intention is there, then I believe that's a positive thing. I believe in positive vibes, positive thoughts, and
Yes.
as long as we continue to spread that, I think we'll be all right. It's one of the things. I know that you never necessarily had. I never had the privilege of having you at our Paracon, but
So
I'm
far.
hoping that changes next year. Yes, I'm hoping that
to.
changes next year. But one of my things is when we had it. Now we had to go dark a couple of years just because I lost my mom and dad within the matter of a year and a half of each other, and my business partner Stan, he lost some loved ones. So it was a bad couple of years there. But we'll be back up and running next year. But with that being said, one of our things is we try to vet everyone that comes into our Paracon. People say, could we dress up? Could we do this? Could we do that? There's places for that, and I'm not against that by all means. I've been to Paracons where people do, the costumes and the whole 9 yards, and I'm okay with that. But that's not what I wanted to set up as far as ours goes. I wanted to pretty much have an intimate knowledge of all of my vendors, all of my, my mediums, my personality will come there, because I wanted at any point in time someone to come up to me and say, hey, what do you know about, so-and-so? And I'd be like, hey, you know what? I know them because this is what they do. This is what I've seen them do. This is what I've heard, And so I try to keep that very intimate connection with all my staff and stuff, with all the staff, with all the vendors, with all the teams. And what I do specifically for that is the night before we have our Paracon. It's usually on a Saturday. So Friday night, what we'll do is we'll have the vendors and stuff and teams come in and set up, and then I have a meet and greet. Real simple. Have some drinks, have some pizza, and everybody sits down and we chit chat. And therefore we get that family atmosphere going the night before. So it keeps that good energy up and rolling when we hit the ground running at 9 a.m. And then we just kind of go all, and I believe in that stuff. I really do.
I do too. But we have to take a break. We're 2 minutes late.
All right.
And I don't even care. We'll be back. So everyone, this is our news break. This is a great time to throw a few cartwheels if you're feeling stiff, or get yourself a beverage of your choice and come on back. We'll catch you in just a few.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Lakshmi Singh. Dorian is now a hurricane. The U.S. Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico are facing their first major test of emergency preparedness since both U.S. territories were ravaged by Hurricane Maria some 2 years ago. This latest storm potentially sets back 2 years of difficult recovery for the island's millions of Americans. NPR's Adrian Florido is tracking developments in San Juan, Puerto Rico.
The National Hurricane Center is warning of heavy rains and high winds across much of Puerto Rico. The most intense impacts are expected on Vieques and Culebra, two small island municipalities off the eastern coast of Puerto Rico's Big Island. They, along with the U.S. and British Virgin Islands, could see hurricane conditions. In Puerto Rico, schools and government offices are closed today, so are many businesses. Hospitals are activating emergency plans, and many dialysis patients are being moved up for treatment for fear of possible power outages. Across the island, people are continuing to stock up on water and other supplies, and there are reports that an 80-year-old man died after falling from his roof while cleaning storm drains in preparation for Dorian's arrival. Adrian Florido, NPR News, San Juan, Puerto Rico.
As Puerto Rico's U.S. citizens brace for a dangerous storm, President Trump tweets that Puerto Rico is one of the most corrupt places on earth. His disparaging tweet is drawing swift criticism from both Democrats and Republicans. Republican Alice Stewart, a resident fellow at Harvard Institute of Politics, was asked a short time ago on NPR's Here and Now, where's the president's empathy?
It's non-existent. And I would like to remind anyone who has any questions about this is that Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory, and it is our responsibility to make sure that they get the help and the assistance that they need.
That's Alice Stewart being interviewed on NPR's Here and Now. Again, Dorian has grown into a Category 1 hurricane. Georgia Senator Johnny Isakson is resigning from office at the end of this year. Georgia Public Broadcasting Stephen Fowler reports Isakson cites ongoing health concerns.
The 74-year-old Republican says he is leaving the job that he loves because his health challenges are taking their toll on him, his family, and his staff. Isakson has Parkinson's disease, which he says is getting worse. He also fractured several ribs in a fall this July, and just this week, doctors removed a mass from his kidneys. Next fall, Georgia's other senator, David Perdue, will be up for re-election. So will Isakson's replacement, appointed by Governor Brian Kemp. That means every member of Congress from Georgia will be on the ballot in 2020. For NPR News, I'm Stephen Fowler in Atlanta.
U.S. stocks are trading higher this hour, with the Dow up 210 points at 25,988. The Nasdaq is up 21 at 7848. S&P is up 16 points, or more than 0.5%. This is NPR News. The venerable department store Lord & Taylor is being sold to an online startup called Latote. Latote's a subscription service that lets women rent clothes, and it's buying Lord & Taylor for $100 million. NPR's Alina Selyuk has details.
Latote is a 7-year-old clothing rental subscription startup. It's planning to buy one of the oldest operating department stores in the United States. Lord & Taylor currently belongs to Canada's Hudson's Bay Company, and it's the latest example of a once luxurious and prosperous store that has struggled to recreate itself for the new era of shopping. The company has recently closed its flagship store on New York's Fifth Avenue and sold the building. If the deal clears, Latote will take over 38 Lord & Taylor locations and the company's brand. Latote says it plans to keep, quote, the vast majority of Lord & Taylor employees. Hudson's Bay will keep ownership of the real estate and get a stake in Latote. Alina Selyuk, NPR News.
It is now official. The CITES International Endangered Species Convention meeting in Geneva has agreed to exempt musical instruments from trade restrictions on rosewood. NPR's Robert Benincasa has more.
Musical instruments were swept up in trade restrictions on rosewood in 2017 amid concerns about strong demand for rosewood furniture in China. Instrument makers lost sales, and musicians and orchestras worried their instruments might be seized as they traveled abroad. The exemption will allow instruments and their parts to cross borders without permits. It takes effect in about 90 days. Robert Benincasa, NPR News.
I'm Lakshmi Singh, NPR News in Washington.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Welcome back to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 5 minutes after the hour. Welcome back. I am so glad to welcome you back to the second hour of Paranormal Experienced Radio with my guest, Joe Hawk. And, this has been a fairly unusual show, but really terrific because we're just kind of covering a little bit of everything. And Joe, you were just talking about the East Coast Paracon and the familial attitude that your vendors and guests have, and just how you go about achieving that. That's been your goal ever since you started it, right?
Absolutely. Our goal, like I stated in the past hour, was to bring the living together to help better understand the dead. That was our motto. That's what we went for. We wanted people to come in, feel a warm, welcome, family atmosphere. My biggest thing was I wanted any one of our guests and any one of the people that came to talk to someone to be able to talk to any team, any investigator, basically any one of our vendors that were there, and be able to be looked at, respected, and at least listened to. And I'm very proud and happy to say that the vendors, the teams, and the people that I have coming there have not only met my expectations, but have certainly exceeded them. It's a family atmosphere. I love having it. I've missed having it the past couple of years just because of some issues we had within the families and stuff. But I'm very happy and excited to do this again for 2020 and to see everybody again. It's just going to be awesome. And I want to get that word out there, and I want people to come and enjoy it.
Well, I tell you what, I am coming. I will be there for the next one because, like I said in the break, I know the people that come as your vendors. I am so impressed by them as individuals and my dealings with them. They're just nice people. They're good people. And, you have, and it's really weird that I live way down here and I consider them good friends because a couple I've met face to face, but most of them I've just talked to on the radio or run across at cons here and there. And they're just awesome. So you've done a very good job with that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. I've been very blessed as far as that goes. The people I've been able to meet, especially throughout this community, which it is. I mean, the paranormal community is its own little community of itself. And the people that I've met, like anything else in any profession, even in my law enforcement career, you meet some people. But for the most part, one thing I've found is that they're down to earth. They're down to earth in the paranormal community because they've seen things, they've witnessed things. Some of them have even gone through some things that most people probably couldn't even comprehend. So it gives them a different perspective of life, a different perspective of things beyond this life and this realm. And I think it just helps them understand life just that little bit better. So when the people that are looking for the answers or seeking information come to them, they're more than willing to help because they have been in that position too. And that's one of the biggest things that I compliment them on. And it's awesome to have them as family and friends. It truly is.
Well, and that's one thing you can tell. I mean, you can tell just looking at the photographs because, as we said, I haven't been there yet. I'm planning to change that. But you can just tell the camaraderie. And, everybody seems, their faces are bright and they're glad to be there. And, a lecture series that Roz and Michael Lewis were doing earlier on the paranormal protections, I would have really loved to have attended. I never got to hear them do that. But there's all kinds of things that are valuable that you can gather just from, again, listening, going and listening. And I love that you have people there that can help with that, with issues that you may come across in the paranormal.
Yes. I'm like I said, we're very blessed to do so. If I could, let me just explain maybe to maybe help our listeners better understand. It's not just a Paracon where you go and you see. You could come there and you could see teams. You could come there and see teams and you could see their evidence. And a lot of what I love too is like a lot of our teams that come, they'll set up their evidence on a loop. So when you go by, their booth, you'll see some, they'll show you different type of orbs or some type of evidence they got during investigations. But not just that, but we have vendors there. We have, I think right now we're slotted for, and we just started putting out, vendor positions for our 2020 Paracon, and we've already got eight psychic mediums coming in. The last Paracon we had 13 there. So you get a good variety, and the psychics use all different type of communication devices. Some of them will use, gems and crystals, and others will use tarot cards, and some use nothing. They just they're just the medium. They'll ask you some things, and that's it. We have numerologists, we have UFOologists, we have cryptozoologists. We have people from different, all different types of walks of life, any type of holistic stuff, and then on top of all that, we also have rooms set up where we do like workshops. Like we'll have Paranormal Photography 101. So we'll have, people in there that take very good photographs, and they have theories and suggestions on how maybe you could capture certain things. So we'll do that. And then we'll have people talk about protection. So when you do paranormal investigation, even some of the, some people that are seasoned teams all the way to the novice, but we teach you how to protect yourself. how to set yourself up so, maybe there's no attachments, or if there was a potential attachment that you could kind of, take control and send that off. And then, last, I know 2 years ago we had a Fashion Haunts magazine was there, and we actually had a fashion show for the people. So we had people
That's
dressed up
fun.
in all different. Yeah, it was awesome. It was great. So it's always something different at East Coast Paracon, and we try to change it up for that. And like I said, and we try to keep it. We try to keep it real, and we try to keep things. The people that are interested in investigating, people that are looking for answers. From everything. I mean, we have, like I said, we have cryptozoologists. We had Bill Brock there. I'm sure people know him if they ever listen to Destination America, Destination Truth, Monsters Underground. Bill was there. He had casts of Bigfoot prints and stuff like that. And we had one of our local guys, Robert Shorts. He was there. He does UFOlogy. I mean, we had we had a place rocking. We really did. And then we have people go up and present. So not only do we have these little workshops going on, but we also have these presentations there. So people will talk about what they do. So we'll have a psychic medium up. We'll have someone talk about UFOlogy and cryptozoology. It's an awesome time. And like I said, it's more of a family atmosphere there. And that's what I wanted. And the universe was good enough to give me that with the people that the good Lord and the universe put in our lives. And we had an awesome show, and we really did.
Well, I tell you what, Krista Desiree has joined the chat, and I told him that I am coming up, so I can't wait. And he was like, "Yay!" Yeah. He said that the East Coast Paracon is an excellent event. I was like, "Well, yeah, I'm coming up for it." So I'm excited.
Chris is a good man. Chris has been with us from the beginning, and he and J. Jeff Unger, Mara, Mike Lewis, like I said before, Rosalind, they've all been with us from the beginning. And I'll tell you what, Chris and the others I mentioned, not only did I meet them through different things that we've done through the paranormal, but I can also call them friends. Those guys have become truly friends. I love them dearly. And if there's any salt of the earth, those people, along with others that I've mentioned, are definitely it. Definitely.
Absolutely. I will give you an amen on that. So, coming from the amen corner, as it were, and it's not Augusta. But, it really is so neat because it's camaraderie, it's friendship, it's support of each other. All of that comes with that. And so that makes it a good community to learn from, because the energy flow from those people and the others that I have seen as participants in your events, it's so easy to learn in a positive environment like that. And these are people that have life experiences to bring and share with you. So,
absolutely,
as you said, they're experiencers as well as historians of the event. I mean, Chris is who went through the C2D one. I probably got that backwards, Chris. If I did, I'm sorry. Haunting.
No, you got it. You're right.
Yeah,
you're right.
But but Jeff kept the notes. Jeff was experiencing it along with him. His other friends and people in his dorm were experiencing it along with him. When the story was ready to be told, Maura was there and produced and directed that.
Absolutely.
Please talk to me. Everything, these are people who really lived that and were able to come through it. They're survivors. And I found, and I learned by listening to Chris and then Reaper and other people Bill Reap, who in that time frame was when the Warrens were going around lecturing at college campuses and things of that nature. A lot of my friends had experiences with the Warrens when they were lecturing at their schools. So, there were different levels of tie-ins and stuff, and it's fascinating when you get a chance to listen to these people talk about their lives going through that. I'm just glad they came out on the other side.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I'll give you an amen on that. I'll tell you, I was privileged enough to be one of the people that was at the opening, the red carpet, if you will, of the C2D1. And Please Talk to Me. I was actually at both of them, and that's one of the first times I met Chris Chisbury in person. I talked to him when he was on our radio show. I talked to him then, but I never met him in person. I got to meet Jeff Unger. I got to meet Mara, and I'll tell you what. As I'm sitting there listening to the story, because I had heard it before, but to watch that, if anybody's ever, honestly, if you ever get a chance, it's phenomenal.
Yes.
But to watch that and to listen. And then to hear they had a roundtable discussion afterwards, and we're all talking, and I went up to Jeff, and then I didn't know the man from Adam, and I said, what? I said, I want to shake your hand. I said, for two things, because when Chris was down and out and he had nobody to turn to, Jeff Unger's the one that stood up and said, you know what? I will help you.
Yep.
Chris's roommate left, and Jeff came in and stayed with him through all that strife, and it was just remarkable to see an individual that barely knew someone to step up and do that. And that speaks for his character alone.
Yes.
For what Chris went through physically and emotionally, God bless him, and the way and how the man he is today because of it. He's such a great person. You'd never even know until he told his story. You'd never look at him and think that he went through something so traumatic. I mean, let's call it what it is. It was definitely traumatic. There's no doubt. So that being said, and I also told him, I said, guys, you know what? You don't realize, but every paranormal investigator that was in this room tonight, and that has from 1980, whatever it was that they started this, I said, you know what? You guys paved the way. I said, Jeff, do you realize what you did? Everything we do now, you paved the way for this.
The photographs, the journaling, chronicling every event.
I'm like, you were right. You were doing this. Like, you started this. You're the guy that paved the way. You marched through this. I'm like, whether you realize that or not. And honestly, and I know I could say this because I'll never forget. He kind of looked at me. He was like it was like I took him back, and he never looked at it that way. But he goes, you know what? Thank you. He goes, you're right. And I said, I am right. Well, like he said it, not you're right as in like a pompous way, but like as in a shocked way. Right. He was like, he never looked at it that way. He just looked at it as helping a fellow person out, which then, of course, now they're, best of friends. But, he just looked at helping a fellow classmate, if you will, out. And the leaps and bounds and what they did for the paranormal community and not even realizing it is simply outstanding in of itself.
Well, we are going to have to take a break because we are going on. I am going on. I'm loving this. So we will be right back. Don't go away.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
To the believer, the evidence is overwhelming. To the skeptic, there will never be enough. Hello everyone. Join Kevin and Jennifer Malik, the host of Paraversal Universe, every Friday here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting. Also heard on WCET-FM and The Rift. Log on or tune in as they check out the mysteries found within the 8 categories of the unknown and unexplained, including ghosts and haunted places, aliens and UFOs, theology and mythology, cryptids and monsters, urban legends and folklore, conspiracies, metaphysics, and forbidden archaeology. Listen as Kevin and Jennifer interview the top minds in their respective fields as they share theories and information regarding these unsolved mysteries. For future show and archive information, one can find Paraversal Universe on Facebook, Twitter, and MeWe under various Paraversal Universe headings. So, For excellent talk radio about the unknown and unexplained, check out Paraversal Universe, where all paranormal perspectives apply. Brought to you by the Northern Wisconsin Paranormal Society, LTD, and produced by WBHM-DB.com.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting. Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 23 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to Paranormal Experienced Radio. I am Kat Hobson, your host, joined by my guest, Joe Hawk, and we are having the best time. We have been talking most recently about the East Coast Paracon and the wonderful group of people that participate there as vendors and speakers, and that, Joe, you strove to create that environment, and I think you did a great job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's great to hear. It really is. I mean, it's one thing to do it, sit back and know the people you're dealing with, but when another person that has, just yourself, unfortunately, like you said, you haven't attended yet, but just knowing the people that come there and to hear you say that, it means a lot to me. I love the feedback, and it makes me want to even do it more,
Yes. Well, I had the best time when I was making our video for the show, because I was so naughty. I put our funny face picture at the end of it.
I saw that.
Because that was such a great time. And, it was the year last year when I met you, and it was getting to see Chris again. I'd never met Philip. So it was just fantastic. And I loved that Chris actually posted that picture with the Breakfast Club.
Yes.
Words in it, because we were misfits. We were having a great time. I think to a degree everybody in the paranormal is, but that was so much fun.
To take I did security one time for a biker club out in Oldie, Pennsylvania, and their motto was, if you're not living on the edge, you're taking up too much space. So
I love that. That's my motto.
You know what? Like I said, life is too short not to have fun, and there's no dress rehearsals, so no. you might as well enjoy it while you're here, right?
This is it. And when you wake up, you better make that day count, because you never know when you're going to get another one. And I try so hard, because I was going through like this negative Nelly phase, which is so not me. And I was, I had to strive to break that, because it was the result of just some icky things that happened, and I was like, oh, no. We are not doing this. I woke up, it's a great day. And I think that's what you mean. You have to look at it like that.
Absolutely. Just because there's clouds in front of the sun doesn't mean it stops shining, right?
That's right.
So we kind of have to just remember that we all have those times and those days, and sometimes those moments turn into months. Unfortunately, I've been there myself. And whether it be the loss of a loved one, a marriage or a job or whatever it may be, but this too shall pass, and we kind of got to keep our eye on the ball and strive forward, because one of my biggest things is there's always something, someone to live for, and that's my thing. And the most important person to live for is the person in the mirror. And
Yes.
because if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't take care of others. So that's my biggest thing. You just remain positive, live the best you can. Respect the person in the mirror, and everything else comes easier. Because when you respect yourself, you tend to respect everybody else. It's when you have a lack of self-respect is when you tend to look down on others, and like you said, the negative kind of gets you. And it's always easier, like I said earlier, to roll downhill than it is to climb up it. But once you're up there, it's quite easy to stay. So just kind of got to keep striving.
Well, and it is a daily decision.
Absolutely.
Every day you get to make that choice. I'm going to go a little sappy. I have a family history of Alzheimer's and dementia. So I found a product that doesn't use any aluminum. It's a wonderful thing. It's fantastic. And I ordered it. And so the little note, it came with a note card inside. And it said, you have to take care of your body. It's the only place you have to live. And I thought, that is so great. It now is stuck in the mirror on my medicine cabinet so that I see that when I wake up and brush my teeth. So
that's right.
How awesome is that?
That's right. It's true. It's absolutely true. It's our temple, right? It's like you said, it's the only place you have to live. And that's absolutely awesome.
Well, I thought so too. So, that's what I try. Somebody asked me once, they asked me to come and lecture, and then they didn't tell me what they wanted me to lecture on. And so I sent them a message, and I was like, do you want ufology? Do you want the paranormal? Do you want, because they seem to really like Fate Radio, Fate Magazine. I was like, do you want it to be about Fate? What would you like me to lecture on? Well, they never said, so they got a hodgepodge. But it was definitely a live your day to the fullest, because I had no idea what was going to happen. And so I just talked about everything. You don't always have to have a plan to make it work. Nice when you do, but it's not always possible.
Well, I tend to agree, because you know what? Sometimes you ever notice when you want to go somewhere, right? You have a big plan, you want to do this, you want to do that. You have an okay time, but it's when you're like, you know what? I don't know if I'm going to go. I don't think I should go, and you're fighting with it, and then you struggle, and you say, all right, fine, I'll go. That seems to be the best time you have, right?
Yes.
Am I right? It's almost like, and that's just how you got to kind of live. I'm like, because it always seems like when I don't want to do something is when I try to do it. That's when I try to there's a reason I want to do it. So let me try it. Let me make the best out of the situation. And most times than not, it comes out all right. It really does.
It does. And, I was hesitant about Gettysburg this year because it was my first time out. So, out at an event solo that was far from home. And I had a blast. I absolutely had so much fun. I wandered, and I drove, so I had my car, so I knew how to get around on the battlefields. I got to spend the evening in Devil's Den. I didn't even know the battlefields were open that late, right? So Tim Conwell was with me, and we went to Devil's Den, and we did Cemetery Hill before we did that, and then we went out to Sachs Bridge, and it was just the best time. I absolutely had a wonderful time, even though I was missing some people that couldn't be there. That was okay too, because I knew I would see them again soon. But I got to see you and Jack and a bunch of other friends, and Athena Balch, who I absolutely adore. It just was a good time, great time. And Pam and Steve did a great job again with that. So.
Oh, they always do. They always do. That's a great event, too. It really is. And Batman was there, as usual.
I love Batman.
I do, too. You know what? He actually he recorded a message for me for Stella. my daughter. So it was awesome. He's like, "Hey, Stella," and he talked to her, and I sent it off because she was with her mom, and I sent it off in a message, and oh my God, she called me, "Daddy!" Yeah. She was so happy I did that. It was
Oh my gosh, that was brilliant.
Yeah, and I appreciate him doing that. I had him a shout out for that. So thanks, Batman. It was awesome.
And he is great.
He's a good man. He really is.
Yes, he is. And there's so many people involved with things, not just your kind and not just Gettysburg, but there's so many. And so many people come together for really great causes, really great reasons. And we are very fortunate, I think, to be part of a community that cares enough to do that. It's just
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
I agree. It's any time that you can help someone else is a good time. It's just what they do at Gettysburg with the wounded warriors and childhood cancer, and
Yes.
I mean they just they put a lot towards it. And I lost both my mom and dad to cancer, so there's a special place in my heart for that. And the warriors of this country, whether abroad or at home, whether it's our military, our law enforcement, our firefighters, EMT, emergency services, they all have a special place in my heart. And so that means a lot to me. So as long as I could go, I'll definitely keep going to Gettysburg for that
Yes.
for that event, because I believe in it. I truly believe in it.
I do too. And that's why I wasn't going to let fear keep me back. You're absolutely right, It is the things that seem scary if you just go do them. You're so thankful that you did.
Right?
You're a smart guy.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But I tell you, it was good seeing you, because I knew you hadn't been doing some things, and I was actually surprised to see you there. It was good. And
me too.
I'll tell you, and because of that, I'm on your show, so that's even it's a bigger bonus for me. So.
Me too. It really is funny because we really have never had a chance to just sit down and talk. It's always, there's people, and then there's more people, and then there's lectures, and then there's more people. And I didn't feel like I knew you well enough to just say, let's go grab dinner in the restaurant or whatever, because I didn't know who you would have plans with and stuff. And it was my first time around a lot of those people. But
right.
It felt like home when I went back. Great place. Great event. I can't wait to do yours, because I know it's going to feel like home when I walk in the first time.
It's going to hopefully be a very good one. Like I said, we haven't done it the past couple of years because of some issues, but I'm hoping to come back bigger and better. Our venue was more than happy to hear that we were coming back, so that makes me happy. Our base, as far as, like I said, our vendors and our speakers and stuff, they were happy. Chris chimed in before, of course, like you were saying. Chris is one of them, and honestly, it's just an honor to have everybody back with us, and I appreciate it, especially those that have been with us from the start, the beginning. They've never failed us. They've always been there for us, and it's going to be an awesome time, and I hope that we could get more people to come up and travel, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm like a kid on Christmas, if you will, because I haven't had a couple of years, and I just love doing it, and I love helping the people, and that's my thing.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt it's going to be awesome. Who all do you have locked in for this upcoming one?
Oh, well, so far we have, of course, the Pennsylvania Paranormal Association. Paranormal Science is going to be there. We have, he's gonna, oh boy, I totally just lost his,
You were in so much trouble.
Yeah, I know it.
I'm kidding. You're not in trouble. You got Sam bagged on it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. So I know Chris is going to be there. He said so. We're going to have like I said, right now we have about 6 psychics, I believe. I'd have to look at the notes, but I think we have like roughly 6 psychics. Mediums that are going to be there. So we have a fairly good lineup. I had made a lot of contacts in Gettysburg. I know the Ghostbusters are going to come down, they said, so that's pretty cool. I don't know if did you see them
cool.
there. Yeah, it's they're awesome. What I like about the Ghostbusters is I guess they have different chapters throughout different areas.
We have one
and
here.
What they do is, oh, do you? Okay, yeah. So I wasn't familiar with them. I thought they were just kind of people like they were doing like a costume play type thing, and they were coming in. But I didn't realize that they accept donations, and they do this for the cause at hand, which I absolutely love and respect, because you know what, they don't dedicate themselves to one thing. But what they were telling me down there was, I guess there was a recent fire in a family had lost some things, and they had some children and stuff. So the last event they did, all the proceeds went to replacing these kids' toys and clothes and stuff, which I thought was awesome. So it's an at hand. It's what they need at that point in time, and I just think that's great. I really do. Like that kind of touched my heart. I was like, you know what? They don't specifically dedicate it to anything, but whoever may need at that point in time. So it's whatever the time arises. And how could you not respect that? So I was like, well, absolutely. So I invited them, of course, and they said they'll be here. So I'm happy about that. But it's going to be definitely a good time. Definitely a good time.
That's wonderful. There's so few people that actually do the as needed fundraisers. I think that's just an awesome thing. I agree with you. That is.
I do.
That's pretty cool.
It is. It certainly has its place, and I can respect that.
Well, I tell you what, I think that I love educational opportunities. I love social opportunities. I love being able to go and investigate places I've never been opportunities. And, when we go to these different events, those opportunities pop up. Have you investigated? I know that you did a bus trip out to Gettysburg. How many people did you take out there on that bus?
52.
Oh my goodness. Where all did you go?
Well, what we do is when we do a bus trip, because I'm also a history buff, so what we'll do is we'll take the bus trip from here. We head to Gettysburg. I'm roughly about 2.5 hours away from Gettysburg, give or take. So on the way down, depending on the ride, what we'll do is we'll throw some questions out there. We'll do some trivia and stuff like that, trying to keep it interactive for the people. Once we get there, we stop at the visitor center, and we actually we take a break. And whatever time we try to slot it in, where within a half hour or so, we get a certified battlefield tour guide to come on the bus with us. And they take us for that 2-hour tour around the battlefield to help people to kind of get a visual and help explain the Battle of Gettysburg. So that way everybody kind of has that in their head of what actually went on. So it's a little bit of history there too.
Well, we're fixing to start our break, and I apologize. I asked that question at an inopportune moment, but we've got it set up, and when we come back, I would love to hear this in detail. So,
absolutely.
Because I've never done that 2-hour tour. I just did the driving tour. So we will be right back to learn more about this, and see you in a few.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
In today's breaking news, over 1.8 million people have signed a petition that is circulating throughout social media and online, pledging to raid Area 51 in hopes of freeing any extraterrestrials that could be on site. Also seeking full disclosure from the U.S. government. Could anything actually come of this? What could be the outcome? Find out on our continuing coverage at 9 p.m. here on WBHM-DB Action News.
You're kidding, right? Most of those people couldn't rate a refrigerator if it weren't for it having a light in there. How about this? For some real information that you can use, instead of the other, sources, stay here where you are, on WBHM-DB, Birmingham, Alabama.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 23 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to Paranormal Experienced Radio for our final segment, and my guest is Joe Hawk. Joe was discussing the Gettysburg Battlefield tours that he brings people with him on. And Joe, I'm sorry I had to interrupt you, but you had just gotten your certified tour guide and we're heading into the battlefields.
Yes. So the unique thing is, I mean, I have this fascination, if you will, and almost connection to Gettysburg. I just love it. I didn't go to Gettysburg until I was in my 20s, to be honest with you, even though I lived so close. And since the first time I went there, I feel that connection. So when we do these bus tours, the cool thing about it is we bring the certified the Park Service certified battlefield tour guide on the bus with us. The good thing is that even though I go down there obviously every time with the bus, I learn something new all the time, because what you do is you have the uniqueness of each individual. So they'll study a little bit of everything. So the one person will tell you about how the civilians reacted, or why they came there, and the cobblers, and so on and so forth. And the next person will tell you how it was like from the orphanage, because that's what they studied. And the next person's more tactical, so they'll tell you what it was like about the Napoleonic War. And I mean, you learn so much. It's truly amazing, especially if you like the history part of it. That part is absolutely amazing to do. So once we're done with that 2-hour tour, we drop our guide off, and then we head to what I call, it's truly not Main Street Gettysburg, but I call it Main Street Gettysburg. We actually head to Baltimore Avenue, Steinway Ave, right by the Jenny Wade House, if anybody's familiar. And we drop the people off there. We drop you off there, and you can kind of do what you want. You could go on your own little tour. You could grab something to eat, whatever you want to do. That the rest of the time is yours until we have a specific time, depending on what time of year we go, depending on, of course, traffic and every other thing that could possibly happen. We give the people a specific time to be back at the bus. Then when we do that, that's when we start our quote-unquote ghost tour. So we'll take everybody up, and then we go usually to where you were speaking of earlier. We go to Devil's Den. So we'll go to Devil's Den, and depending on how many investigators we have on the trip with us, depends on how many different groups that we break up into. So then we'll go to Devil's Den, and we'll cross the little bridge there. We'll go over into the wheat field, as you know, going up towards the, up to a little round top towards that area there, trajectory-wise. Mm-hmm. And we'll break up into groups, and then we just kind of we'll use dowsing rods. We'll use our recorders. We were using laser grids, but the Park Service unfortunately doesn't like that, and I can understand, for obvious reasons. But we didn't think that way at first when we started that, so they do not allow the laser grids there anymore. But and we do our investigation, and I'll tell you what, we have had some, especially the dowsing rods. We've had some phenomenal experiences there with them. Gettysburg is such an active place, as you know.
Yes.
It is, especially during the second day of the battle, obviously the bloodiest battle of Gettysburg. And it was, was such trauma there, and such young lives were taken traumatically, and so many that you cannot help but honestly stumble across a spirit, if you will. And it's and I don't use the word entertaining disrespectfully, of course. That's not who I am. But when I say it's entertaining, I mean that it's very educational. It's very, if you're that type of person, it's very spiritual. And you learn the connection between true Mother Earth and yourself, and the connection that these people had and the beliefs that they had to remain there, not being trapped anymore. They're just willing to keep coming back. And that speaks a lot about what they believed in, the characters, and the integrity of who they were as locals, as soldiers, and everything else. And it's very humbling. And as long as you have respect, I tend to get a lot of good responses there.
You know, something that took me by surprise when I was there first last year was the fact that I was expecting fear or terror or, you know, that kind of emotion when I was on the fields. But what I got was a sense of resolution. You know, it was like, well, this has to be done. If not me, who? And if I run, I'm dead. And if I go forward, I'm probably dead. Probably is better than definitely. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to fight. I was expecting terror. That's why I didn't really want to go.
Right.
But everything was just a sense of resolution. You know, the decision has been made. We're going. And that struck me as so odd. And I think maybe that has something to do with why they're still there. Or they will come back. Because they weren't terrified. They were doing what they felt like they had to do.
Right. It was just matter of factly.
Yes, very matter of fact.
Yes. One thing I always am shocked by, such as yourself, the first time I went on the battlefield, was the overwhelming calmness that I felt.
Yes.
Like you said, I was anticipating an anxiousness. I was anticipating some type of other feeling, you know, like maybe the worry or the regret or the sadness. And the only thing I felt was overwhelmingly calm. And I was like, wow. I was like, you know, the group I was with at the time, we were all remarking about that, about how calm and surreal it felt. It was just so different, you know, and the more we talked about it, it finally came to me. I said, because you know what? No matter what the tragedy was here, no matter what side, no matter what they believed, we're truly standing on hallowed ground.
Yes.
So many lives and souls were lost that day. And regardless of what we think about it now, at the time, you cannot damn them for what they believed in, regardless of what side they were on. They all had their beliefs. I may not agree with it. You know, like we go back to earlier, you know, it goes right around, okay? I may not agree with some of the thoughts and theories and suggestions behind it, but I have to respect those that stood respectfully on their sides and what they believed in. I have to respect their beliefs, regardless if I agree with them or not. And those people died for what they believed in. And how could you disrespect that? Regardless if you agree with it or not, you can't disrespect that, in my opinion anyway. And to feel that hollow ground, to feel that overwhelming peace, and I believe that's why, is because no matter how they feel about it now, no matter how time has changed, I think it was, and they even called it at that point in time a gentleman's war. You know,
yes.
It isn't like it is now. You know, and even though they were fighting for what they believed in, they respect each other, and you know, they even helped each other during the night. You know, they went to the same watering hole and filled their canteens. You know, literally on either side of each other, and not, you know, and nothing was done because it was a quote unquote gentleman's war.
Yes, because they were not fighting at that point.
Right.
Right then.
Correct.
When I was learning about this stuff, it blew me away in the very best of ways. I didn't anticipate the courtesy extended, like to get your wounded, to get things taken care of that had to be taken care of. You just done it, never having been in that environment, I didn't anticipate that. And it just really was fascinating to me.
It is. It certainly is. Like I said, if anybody takes the time to learn the history behind it, it's like you said, it's amazing. It's amazing. Just the details that you don't hear. Everybody knows there was, thousands upon thousands of people killed there, but why? What were their beliefs? What did they do in the interim? Like you said, the utter respect for either side, even when they didn't necessarily agree with what they were thinking, they still had respect.
Yes. And that was because they respected themselves too. They knew why they were there. And they knew why the other people were there too. And I don't think anyone of this generation really understands that. It's kind of like if you weren't in Vietnam, you don't get that either.
Right.
It was just something that, the Korean War was a police action. They never deemed it a war.
Right.
And,
yeah. Well, just right. A conflict. That's right.
Yeah. And, here you have people fighting there too, but here with the weaponry and such, you could see directly into the face of who you were killing.
That's right.
I can't even imagine being a person in that scenario. Just wild.
It's and mind you did that after you trekked from halfway across the country to get to Gettysburg.
Yeah.
Walked. Most people don't realize that. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
You walked. That's right. And you didn't just walk, you marched. I mean, you marched in battalions and brigades. You marched. The only people that had it semi-easy, and I say that, of course, with a huge grain of salt, was the cavalry, because they had their horses. They didn't have to walk, but they still had to tend to their horses, and they still had other things that the others didn't, And there's just so many things behind the scenes that you don't even realize. The South had, they were up here in July,
yeah.
and they had wool clothing. Think about that for a second. That was their issue. They were issued wool.
Yes.
You tell me how that wool acted, soaking wet, 2 days of rain, and it's 90-some degrees in the morning. How do you think that was?
Miserable. I would have been fighting in my underwear.
Right?
Seriously. But that's just, there were so many different levels of hardship that we can't even comprehend.
No.
And they still faced them all. And they still did what they felt had to be done. I can't imagine that valiant. I mean, they're so valiant, they're so resolute, they're so strong, and so, if it could have just waited 3 more days, I mean, there's always that. Just, it's tragic. It is an American tragedy.
Absolutely. But like anything else,
very fierce warriors.
I was just going to say that, but like anything else, our emergency service personnel, our military, law enforcement, I have to look at them and with great gratitude, because no matter what, no matter who you are, like I said, I've trained with some of the best, and I had the opportunity, and I thank God for that. And I know guys that were overseas, and they would thank me, being a law enforcement officer here, saying, thank you for having our 6. You know what that meant to me? I mean, my God, these are the warriors that are out there in the front lines battlefield, and they're thanking me being back here. But that's the respect, because they understand. They get it. And, our firefighters and EMS and stuff that go running into burning buildings and rescuing people and all that. I mean, there has to be, I guess I try to make it my little platform to, take a step back and just thank these people for a split second, realize what they do.
Yeah.
Realize that they risk their lives. Firefighting is, 98% boredom and 2%, sure fear.
Yeah.
Because when you're running into that building, they're fighting that dragon that most people, run away from. And it's just, it takes a special heart in the men and women that do that in all different avenues.
Absolutely, it does. I had never really been around very many firefighters until my daughter was a lifeguard, a beach guard on the Gulf Coast. And I didn't realize what she was going to face either. But it is just truly astounding that there are people with a heart that go into that. And I thank every one of them. And when I got to go to New York, there was an issue at the old World Trade Center site. The tower wasn't completed yet, Freedom Tower. And they were loading back up on their truck, and I had the opportunity to say, you know what? I'm from Alabama, and we still pray for you every day. Because I know that most of y'all are new because your station was wiped out, and we bled for you. We bled for you, we prayed for you, and thank you. And they cried. And then I cried. So, that being said, it matters. People need to know that these people matter.
That's right.
That thin blue line matters. That's what keeps you away from anarchy. And you better respect them, because you know what? You're going to need them. Somebody in your family is going to be in a crisis and need them. And you know what? You're going to call them. And then you're going to mock them and be a jerk. And they'll still come.
That's exactly, and that shows their character way more than those that are mocking them.
Yes, it does. And we are out of time, Joe.
Oh, all right.
I had the best time with you. Thank you so much. Thank you for your service to everyone, because you've been in multiple services, and I just think that you're wonderful. I'm so glad you took the time to come and talk to me tonight.
That was my honor. I appreciate that. Thank you.
And I'm already looking forward to September.
Yes, absolutely. But hopefully we'll talk before that. Maybe
we will talk before that. Well, just ask. I'll show up.
All right.
I really enjoy you, and I'm thankful for your friendship.
Thank you. I feel the same.
Makes it fun. And that being said, everyone, I hope that you will be tuning in on Friday when we have the Pyrologian Report on Paraversal Universe. I will be participating on that panel. That is at 5 o'clock Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting, WBHM-DB.com. Join us. And then that will be followed by Ghost Talk Radio with Shelley Burke Robinson. Then I will be back with Fate on Sunday, and we will be off the rest of the week because I will be traveling, and it's a holiday. So y'all have a great time, be safe, and God bless. Good night. Oh, before we go, be that change you want to see. Manifest that. You have that power. We all do. You don't like something? Alter your reaction to it. Alter the reality. Take care of you. Good night.